yes, woo, there was a little woo, woo, and you can go, woo! We've had our war nights, and we have just seen God do incredible things. And there's testimonies upon testimonies like, whoa, God, you are so incredible. And we've all got, there's loads of people being healed, there's people being set free, there's situations that have changed. There's been so much going on. And it has been a whirlwind of a month, yes? And we're not going to stop there because we're going to have them once a month from now on in. And God is such a good, good God. And I just feel right now that the word that I'm going to bring is almost like a word that a parent brings to a child. Now, hang on in there, because you're thinking, oh, she's going to be patronizing. No, I'm not going to be patronizing, but I do believe that what I'm about to share with you is something that we need to take a hold of. I need to take a hold of in my life. And so anyway, I'm just going to share different things. But I just want to share this little story first. And in our house, back in the day when we had 2 teenage boys, we had a 10-year-old boy and we had a 9-year-old girl. And obviously, we were navigating the later primary school years and the teenage years. And at this moment in time, we actually developed a saying in our house. And the saying was, many of you would have heard it, but bear with me. The saying was, remember that the choices we make today will determine where we will be tomorrow. And I had to keep saying this over and over again. Gray did, but I think the nagging mem was the one that did it the most. Obviously the saying was for all of them, but mainly Sam. And I can remember a time where Josh was a teenager first. And as he goes up through the teenage years and he became 15 or 16, I can't remember what age he was, and he was going to be going somewhere, and we had to sit him down. We had to decide, okay, do we allow him to do this and go this place? And we have to sit him down and everything. And we thought, well, okay, if we are doing this, we really have faith in Josh to overcome it. But we have Sam coming up. So how do we navigate? If we make this decision for one, we may have to make it for all. But we had to navigate, and we have to, you see, God is with you in every season. And so we made decisions. But anyway, Sam came into his teenagehood, and this saying was very much repeated 3 or 4 times a day. And anyway, but the interesting thing was, and I noticed, and I look back on stuff, and whenever we went away with family, whenever we went on our summer holidays, or throughout the year, if we had little breaks, we would go to Wales because we've got a family down there. Whenever that was this, when we were all together as family, that saying was, I don't think, ever spoken. And I thought about it, and I thought, wow. And the reason is because Sam was in the presence of a safe place. He was in the presence of his father, natural mother. He was in our presence with family where he was safe, where he was free to be himself. And that is just like you and I. Just like you and I. You see, we come to war nights, and everything is like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. God is doing incredible things, and we're worshiping, and we're all together, and we're free to be ourselves because we are loved in the room. We're loved in the room. People, you go to life groups, and you know, when we're in life groups, we're with people who love us, who are with us, and we're loved in the room. We come to church on a Sunday, and we feel safe because we go, okay, God, we're in your presence. But we're in God's presence wherever we go, yes? But you see, when we go out into the big, wide world, it's another story. And I just want to say that we are not fighting against flesh and blood, but principalities and powers. Let me read this in Ephesians 6, verse 12. For we are not fighting against flesh and blood enemies, but against evil rulers and authorities of the unseen world, against mighty powers in this dark world, and against evil spirits in the heavenly realms. You see, it's a spiritual battle that we're in, a spiritual battle. But the enemy's greatest weapon is deception. Deception. And where does he come in his deception? He comes to work and attack our soul. Our soul is the essence of who we are. Always comes to attack who we are. He attacks our mind, the way we think. He attacks our will, the choices that we make. He attacks our emotions, how we respond in life. You see, becoming a Christian is the beginning of the most incredible journey anybody can have. And I can remember literally giving my heart to Jesus. You see, but our spirit is born again. When you become a Christian, and many of us have made this years ago, some of us recently, the last 6 months, on the last 3 months, and we put our hand up and we've given our life to Jesus. And the Bible says we are born again of the Spirit, okay? So we're born again of the Spirit when we become Christians. But it doesn't say anything about our mind or our will being born again. So, we're born again of the Spirit. I can remember literally becoming a Christian, going to church and just having a revelation and obviously I didn't know at the time, but God had been working on me for years. My mum had been praying and all the different things with her friends. And I've come to this church service, a little Welsh chapel, and I'm on holidays from Canada, because I was living in Canada at the time, and I come home on holidays and I go to this little chapel. I put my hand up. They give the appeal, and I put my hand up. They didn't ask to go to the front. I ran to the front because I knew I needed everything Jesus had for me. I'm sobbing. Gray's mum, she prayed with me. In fact, Gray's mum was my biggest champion in the sense. My mum was, but my mum should be. But Gray's mum was my biggest champion. She was the one that would pray with me. She was the one that put me to talk in her little coffee mornings that she had on. She would do all sorts with me as I was growing in my Christian journey. So I had people around my world who were my champions. And the thing is, when I became a Christian, I remember everything changed. My whole world changed. It was like a light went on, and I remember thinking, wow. And I invited my friends. I got saved on the Sunday. On the Wednesday, I said to my friends, you have to come to the Bible study. Big mistake, but anyway, I have to come to. I was so excited because I had such a revelation of who God was. I'm thinking, everybody in my world needs to meet this Jesus. They need to come and meet this Jesus. So I invited them to come to the Bible study, and they just came and they left, and that's it. I'm still praying for them now. One of them actually, because we come saved, my friend in Canada, she's saved, but the others are not, and I'm still praying for them. But anyway, so I go on this journey, and I'm thinking, then I go the next day to the train from Neath to Swansea, and I'm looking at God's creation, looking at the trees. I'm just like, oh my gosh, these people, they're just amazing people. On the train, it's a good job I didn't go and kiss them or anything, but I just, everything was like amazing. Amazing. Why? Because I was born again of the Spirit, and I was walking with the Holy Spirit. I was walking, and I was going about my life in those days, and it was just, everything was amazing. And then, about a year later, to cut a long story short, Gray and I, Gray obviously married me. He married me. He took me to a date. I got saved on the Sunday, and I went on a date to the prayer meeting on the Monday. He did waste no time. Anyway, and a year later, well, look at me. You wouldn't let me go, would you? Anyway, so we went to prayer meeting, and I was home for a month, and then I had to go back to Canada and everything. And to cut a long story short, we came back. I got married a year later. Well, we got married a year later, and we went to Bible college. Now, remember, everything's all hunky-dory. Everybody loves me. I'm just this amazing person. And then I go to Bible college thinking, I can't wait to go to Bible college. My gosh, the angels are going to be walking in that place. Everybody loves Jesus. Everybody is born of the Spirit. And it's going to be phenomenal. It was the best year of my life, one of the best years of my life, but it was one of the worst years of my life. Why? Because of me. Because of me. Why because of me? because I'm responsible for me. I am not responsible for anybody else. I'm responsible for me. So I come out of there, learned a lot of things about life, learned a lot of things about Christians, learned lots of things about people. But the most important, I learned about me. And you see, Romans 12:2 says this: do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, my mind. Not someone else's mind, my mind. If we don't renew our minds, we will continue thinking as we used to. We will continue acting as we used to. And we will continue believing as we used to. Because we're born again of the Spirit, but we have a responsibility. We're on planet Earth. We're not in airy fairyland. We're on planet Earth. So we have to guard our hearts. Okay, so then I go from Bible college. Then we go to Pastor Church in Barnsley. So, I learned so much coming out of Bible college. I thought, oh, God, thank you. You taught me so much there. Yes, Lord, I know that was me. I'm sorry. Yes, I've learned so much. So then, I'm pregnant with Sam. I have Josh, the little toddler. And we set off on our little journey to Barnsley. All the way from Mattersey, Retford to Barnsley. And we go to Barnsley, and Gray is the pastor. And we walk in, and obviously you need to understand, I am the lovable one. Gray is the one. So this is my little world. This is how I work in my little world. I was the one that was in the common rooms all the time, and everybody knew me. They knew Gray as Dell's husband. So that's how it was. So I go to church, and I'm thinking, I am born for this. I'm going to be a pastor's wife. I am born for this. So I walk in, and then everything, and all this is, all of a sudden it turns to, Pastor. Oh, Pastor, will you pray for me? Pastor, will you pray for me? I'm thinking, hello. So everybody, whenever we'd go on a Sunday, it was all straight Gray. Yeah. Pastor, oh, this has happened. And they're all women. All women. Who do you think you are? That's my husband. So then, I am pregnant with Sam, and I have Josh. They stick me in a room with a window. And I'm looking, they don't stick me because it's the baby's room. I was the only one with a baby and stuff. So they haven't forced me to go in there. I'll be thinking, what sort of church is this? So that was the room where the mothers go with the children. And so I'm in this room, and there's this window, and I can see Gray. He's preaching his little heart out. And the room wasn't huge. So it was just a small room. And he can see me, and I'm like, nobody else can see me because all their heads are facing Gray, and I'm going, honestly, I can be so horrible. I can be so horrible. So anyway, we'd go through that, and we would go to I remember us going to a pastor's leaders thing, and an American couple came, and they thought, I'm going to learn how to be now. And she got up, and she talked about flower arranging and baking cakes, and I said to Gray, if you think I'm doing that, I've not gone to Bible college to bake cakes and flower arrange. And it was like, but all this time, we laugh about it now, but all this time God was dealing with me. I was put in places where God would stir things up within me. And I got to that place, and I went through so many different things, but all the time I had to renew my mind. You see, it's like we have to understand that when we get saved, we still have responsibilities in life to overcome what we go through. And people are put there to stir what's inside of us. of me. People are not put there. We're not fighting against flesh and blood. We're fighting against principalities and powers. And the enemy wants to come to steal, kill, and destroy from your life. He wants to steal. He wants to stop you from moving to where the next stage of where maybe God's opened the door and you think, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And then all of a sudden something comes in and you look and you step back because of a person. I want to tell you something. Never step back for a person. Just love on that person and keep stepping forward. Just love on them and start walking and thinking, no, this is not about you. This is the enemy using you. And that person, you know, the enemy uses all of us. And you know, you don't even know it sometimes. Because you know you can walk into a room and maybe you're in thought. I've had this happen to me loads of times. I walk into the room and because I like to think, voila, I'm here. And somebody can walk past and they just don't acknowledge me. And I think, okay, they've not acknowledged me. Okay, there's something wrong here. And then all of a sudden something festers. Why? Because I'm not taking my thoughts captive. I am living how I used to live before I became a Christian. Because if that happened to me when I wasn't a Christian, I'm telling you, I am not a nice person. And sometimes if I'm not, well, not sometimes, all the time, if I am not renewing my mind, I am not a nice person. And if you think you're a nice person, wait. God's coming your way. He's going to allow stuff to happen in your life. Why? Because he loves us too much to keep us where we are. He loves us too much to leave us where we are. Okay, so the other thing, the point I want to make, that's someone when they become a Christian. I want to talk to Christians right now because how are you walking your journey? How are you walking through your life? Because many Christians get stuck and don't grow into the tree that we saw earlier on with Chris. They get stuck and they're small, either in a pot or just small. Roots are not growing. And I want to say this because it's very, very easy to place yourself when you become a Christian under law, where we are called to live by grace. We're not called to live by law. We're not called to be religious beings. We're not called to use the Bible as a stick. We're called to use the Word of God as a free place, as something where it's a release for us. It is the sword of truth. It's a double-edged sword to use for freedom, not for bondage. Whereas religion brings bondage. And the thing is, you see, religion brings fear. Fear of people, fear of God, and then we don't even know where we're coming or going. It brings condemnation, it brings insecurities, it brings shame upon us. I've been in places where I've been shameful, I've been insecure when I walk in places. Why? Because I'm not renewing my mind. I'm not walking as a true child of God. And see, listen to what it says in 2 Corinthians 10, verse 3 to 6. The world is unprincipled. It's dog eat dog out there. The world doesn't fight fair, but we don't live or fight our battles that way. Never have we and never will. The tools of our trade aren't for marketing or manipulation, but they are for demolishing that entirely, massively corrupt culture. We use our powerful God tools for smashing warped philosophies, tearing down barriers, erecting against the truth of God, fitting every loose thought and emotion and impulse into the structure of the life shaped by Christ. Our tools are ready at hand for clearing the ground of every obstruction and building many lives of obedience into maturity. Are you in chains or are you moving to change? The choice is ours, guys. I'm not going to read it, but in Deuteronomy 30, I constantly read it. Are you choosing life or death? Are you choosing blessing or cursing? It's up to us what we choose. And you see, there's a guy in the Bible, and hello. There's a guy in the Bible called Joseph. And Joseph, he is someone, when you look at his life, oh my gosh, he renews his mind constantly. He has to be renewing his mind for what happens in his life. And what happens is, to cut a long story short, he has got 12, there's 12 of them. He's got 11 brothers, and 10 of those brothers are born to Leah. And his mum, Rachel, couldn't have children for a long time, and then she gave birth to Benjamin and Joshua. Joseph. Oh, yes, correct me, please. And he gives birth to Joseph, and Rachel gives birth. Oh, my gosh. Rachel gives birth to Joseph and Benjamin. And what happens is, because Jacob is so in awe, because he's been longing for Rachel to give birth to his children, and then he's almost declaring stuff over Joseph's life, and he all of a sudden he gives Joseph a coat of many colors, and he's walking and he's wearing his coat of many colors, and Joseph has a dream, because why? He's just free to be, because he's so loved. You see, when you love and know and understand who God is, you can free to be yourself, because you're so loved. That's why you need to be in a life group, because you're so loved. And you need to be in church and in the war rooms. Why? Because this is where you are so loved. And when you planted and you're so loved, he was free to be who he was called to be. And because of that, God gave him dreams. He was free to see what God was seeing. Oh, don't you love that? When you renew your mind, you'll be free to see what God sees about your life, what God sees about your neighborhood, because God sees about your family. Why? Because you're renewing your mind and you're moving in the spirit of things. Why? Because you've got a relationship with the living God. And that this is what happened to Joseph. And he gives the dream in his innocence and his sweetness. He just has a dream because he knows it's from God, so he shares it with confidence. Have you done that when you've shared something with confidence and all of a sudden the room goes? Or someone in the room like, who do they think they are? I've been there. Who do they think they are? You've got to renew your mind. Don't bring down someone else's happiness. Support someone else's happiness. Honor that happiness. Lift them up in the room. So anyway, his brothers decide he's going down. His brothers are jealous. So what they do, they sell him. They want to kill him, and they decide not to. So he goes into the pit. They sell him. The Egyptians come, and they sold him to the Egyptians, and off they go. And at this point, he's not seen his father, not been able to say goodbye to his father. And he goes on this thing. He's sold, and then he works in Pharaoh's house. He gets a place in Pharaoh's house. And because he's renewing his mind, he renews his mind. What happens? All of a sudden, Pharaoh sees him. You know, when you keep renewing your mind, you'll be going places where no one else can go, because you're renewing your mind. So when you renew your mind, he's renewing his mind, and all of a sudden, Pharaoh sees. And he goes, I want you to look after my household. Yeah, I can do that. I'll serve that. I'll honor you in that. Yes, I will do that. So he's now running Pharaoh's house all of a sudden, because you see, understand this. When you are renewing your mind, controlling your will, and understanding who God is in your life by walking in the Spirit, you'll be so attractive to so many people. But be aware, because the enemy will want to bring you down because of your being so attractive. So all of a sudden, Potiphar's wife comes along. I like him. So she then connives to get him to sleep with her. Obviously, he runs, it says in the Bible. He doesn't stand and have a chat. There's some people in you, you're walking around temptation right now, and you're having a debate to give you reasons. Stop it. Run. Run right now from any temptation. Joseph did not stop to have a chat, to think of Potiphar's wife. He said, that is wrong, and I am woke. Well, he didn't even speak. He just ran. Don't have conversations with people who are trying to lure you into the wrong place. Just run from them. Joseph ran. And he got in trouble. And you're like, you're telling me to run and I'm going to get into trouble. The story's not finished yet, so hang on in there. It's not finished. He ran. And because he ran and everybody believed what she said, what she said, he was put in prison. But you see, God is in control. Some of you are trying to defend yourself. It's time to shut your mouth and allow God to vindicate you. Don't go fighting. Don't go slamming other people or bringing people down. God will vindicate you when the time is right. You see, what happens then is Joseph's in prison. What's he doing? Renewing his mind. Renewing his mind. He's keeping himself in check. He's guarding his heart. He's here because someone has lied about him, but he's guarding his heart. God, you are in control. God, you have the last word. God, help me to continually keep my eyes focused on you. Help me to be Jesus to the world. Help me to respond the way Jesus would respond. And then he's in prison. And he starts to get to know. He's elevated again. He's now over all the prison, looking after all the guys. And again, his dreams come. It's his gifting. His dreams come. And he starts interpreting dreams. And two people, I can never get them right, so I'm not going to say, because I always say the butcher, the baker, and the candlestick maker. It's a standing joke in our house. But anyway, you can read it. And the thing is, he interprets their dream. And then they get released. And he says to them, remember me. Remember me when you go. And they said, yeah. They're off. Oh, one of them died. But anyway, they go off about this stuff until one day, suddenly, there's a word for somebody. You'll miss your suddenly if you don't renew your mind. Renew your mind takes a long time, but the one day suddenly is coming when you renew your mind. See, one day suddenly comes, and Pharaoh has a dream. And he needs it interpreted. And then the guy went, oh, the cupbearer, I know a guy. One day, you may be hidden right now, but one day, someone will remember what you've done. And they'll go, wow, remember, bring them, bring her, bring him to me. And this is what happened to Joseph. He ended up going and interpreting Pharaoh's dream. But the best thing about this, he interprets Pharaoh's dream, and then Pharaoh puts him in charge of all of Egypt. Why? Because he kept renewing his mind. He didn't live in the past, but you don't know what my brothers did to me. There was nothing like that coming out of his mouth. Nothing like that. But you don't know what that person said about me. God does. But he's watching you. They are responsible for their life. You are responsible for your life. I'm responsible for my life. And the thing is, what happens then, he interprets the dream and the famines, and all of a sudden, back there where his father and his brothers were, the famines come. And Joseph says, bring them to me. It's such a love. You see, when you renew your mind, you get such a love for people. Such a love for people. They can say things about you. They can do whatever, but you love them. Why? Because Jesus, Holy Spirit, is coming through you. And now you're loving with the mind of Christ. You're not loving or hating with your mind. You're loving with the mind of Christ. And because of this, his brothers come first. And when they see and they find out it's Joseph, they're petrified. They're petrified. But Joseph says, don't be afraid. What you meant for harm, God meant for good. You see, God has the last word over your life, over my life. And I just want to say this. Back in the day, when I look back to where I was in Mattersey Bible College, then to being in Barnsley, I look back and I think, God, look what you've done. Look look back to the days where Gray and I were crying on our knees, crying to God.